So I want you to hold two very different images in your head for a second.
Okay, I'm ready.
The first scene is massive. We're talking about the Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi,
Oh.
February 2026. It's the India AI Impact Summit.
Right, the big one.
Yeah. And you kind of have to imagine the scale of this. You've got glittering lights, heavy security, the air conditioning is humming against the heat outside.
Oh, production.
Exactly. And inside you have the people who effectively run the world. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is there, French President Emmanuel Macron.
Sundar Pichai from Google was there too.
Right. Him and Dario Amodei from Anthropic. It is basically billions of dollars in nuclear codes, all sitting in one conference hall, deciding the future of human intelligence.
It's the literal room where it happens. I mean, the stakes couldn't possibly be higher for that kind of gathering.
Right. So that's scene one. Now cut to scene two. And he is writing code. Not millions of lines, just a few thousand.
Military coder on the other.
It really does. But here is the hook for today's deep dive. We have gone through the transcripts on that massive summit, every speech, every panel, every high-level declaration.
And a lot of them.
So many.
Oh, hi.
And we took all that source material and we compared it line by line with the technical documentation of that little app. And what we found is that the app is actually the answer to the summit.
See, that is a very bold claim to make right out of the gate. You're saying a piece of utility software you can download right now solves the massive geopolitical problems these world leaders are stressing about.
I'm saying it proves that the solution is actually possible. At the summit, they unveiled this new global framework for AI called M.A.N.A.V.V, the MANAV fight. And it's very high-level philosophical stuff. But our mission today is to use this app, MySafetyRing, as a concrete case study. We want to see if those high-minded ideals can actually survive out in the wild on your smartphone.
I really love this approach because we so often hear these grand declarations from politicians, things like, we need ethical AI or we need data sovereignty.
But it's just talk.
Exactly. Rarely do we get to see what that actually looks like when you tap an icon on your screen.
Precisely. So that is the mission. We've got the speeches from Modi, Macron, Pichai, Amodei, and Chandrasekaran from Tata. And we have the architecture of MySafetyRing. But before we get to the actual code, we really need to understand the room.
Yeah, we have to set the stage. What was the vibe in New Delhi in 2026?
Right. It wasn't just a tech trade show. If you read the transcripts, there was a real weight to it, a sense of a civilizational shift.
Absolutely. And N. Chandrasekaran, the chairman of Tata Sons, used a phrase that really stuck out to me. He called AI the infrastructure of intelligence.
The infrastructure of intelligence, that is a heavy concept.
It is. He was essentially comparing it to the steam engine or electricity. He was saying, this isn't just a tool we pick up and use, it's the environment we live in now.
And if it's the environment, the obvious question becomes who controls the environment?
Which was the exact tension in that room.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. You had the Indian IT Minister, Ashwini Vaishnaw, and even the UN Secretary General all hammering on this one specific phrase, democratizing technology.
Because right now, let's be honest, the AI boom feels very upward for a few.
Yeah, a handful of companies in Silicon Valley get trillion-dollar valuations, and the rest of us get targeted ads and deepfakes.
And there was a line from the summit proceedings that summarized that anxiety perfectly. They said, technology should not be upward for a few, but forward for many.
Which brings us to the thesis. That exact anxiety is what birthed this MAND framework.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Modi took the stage and unveiled this acronym. And obviously in Hindi, Bob means human.
So right off the bat, the branding is making a statement. We need built MySafetyRing. The documentation explicitly says safety without surveillance.
Again, a nice tagline. But technically, how do you actually do that? If the app doesn't know where I am, how on earth can it save me in an emergency?
Because it uses what they call on-demand logic. This is the M in action. The app is completely dormant. It is not living your location to any server anywhere. It's not watching you.
Okay.
It only wakes up when you actively trigger it or when a very specific preset emergency condition is met.
So it's the difference between a CCTV camera recording every single move you make and, say, a bodyguard who just waits outside your door until you scream for help.
That is a perfect analogy. The code itself respects your dignity by assuming you want privacy until you explicitly say otherwise. That is a moral choice written directly into the logic of the application. It entirely avoids that surveillance by default trap.
Okay, I can actually see that. It's about making the default setting human dignity. Let's move on to the first A, accountable governance.
This one is huge. At the summit, the leaders were talking about holding massive AI models accountable for bias or spreading misinformation. But in the context of a mobile app, accountability means something a bit simpler. It means, do I know why this app did what it just did?
So transparency, basically.
Right. Think about your social media feed right now. Do you know why you saw that specific video this morning?
I have absolutely no clue. The algorithm works in mysterious ways. It's a complete black box to me.
Exactly. It's unaccountable. You cannot question it because you cannot understand it. Now look at MySafetyRing. It has this feature called the missed call trigger.
Which I read about in the App Store description. And honestly, it sounded a bit low-tech.
Oh, it is very low-tech. But that is the absolute genius of it. Here is how it works. You set up a rule. Say you tell the app if my mom calls me and I don't pick up and she calls again within 5 minutes.
Then automatically send her my location via SMS.
Right. That is a conditional logic statement. If this, then that. It is 100% predictable. It is accountable.
Because if your location gets sent, you know exactly why it happened.
Precisely. There is no advanced AI hallucinating an emergency. There is no algorithm guessing you might be in trouble because your phone's accelerometer detected a sudden stop. It is a strict, clear contract between the user and the code.
So you're saying accountable doesn't mean advanced AI, it actually just means predictable.
In this context, yes, absolutely. Complexity is the enemy of accountability. If you can't understand the rules, you can't hold the system accountable. This app keeps the rules simple enough for a normal human to understand. It empowers you to know exactly what the machine will do.
That makes a lot of sense. It behaves lawfully. Okay, let's get to the next letter, which is N. And honestly, this feels like the heavy hitter of the entire acronym. N stands for National Sovereignty and Data Rights.
This was undeniably the geopolitical core of the summit. You had world leaders up there talking about data colonization.
Data colonization. That is a very strong phrase.
It is, but it really fits the situation. The idea is that big tech companies mine our personal data like a natural resource, like drilling for oil or mining gold, and then they ship it off to servers in California or wherever to be processed and monetized.
Leaving the country where the data actually came from with nothing.
Exactly. And the phrase they used at the summit, I think this was PM Modi's actual phrase, was Jiska data Uska Adhikar.
Which translates to whose data they're right.
Yes, it is a fundamental declaration of ownership.
But how does a little personal safety app help with something as massive as national sovereignty?
By completely flipping the standard architecture. Think about it. Most apps today are cloud first. You take a photo, it goes to the cloud. You track your morning run, it goes to the cloud. You want safety features? Your live location goes straight to the cloud.
Because that is how these companies monetize. They need the data to train their massive AI models or to sell highly targeted ads.
Bingo. The typical business model trades your safety for your privacy. But look at the architecture diagram for MySafetyRing that we have in the source material. What does it say in big, bold letters right at the top?
No cloud account.
No cloud. Everything is processed on device.
So if the developer Ashwini Kumar suddenly decided he wanted to see where I went last Tuesday afternoon?
He couldn't.
Yeah.
Physically, he cannot do it. The data exists on your phone's local storage and literally nowhere else in the world. There is no central database to hack. There is no server a government can subpoena. That is true sovereignty.
It's so interesting because usually when we hear the word sovereignty, we think of physical borders, right? We think of nations protecting their citizens' data from foreign governments.
Right.
But this is more about personal sovereignty.
The expert view here, and this is what I think the summit was really driving at, is that you cannot have national sovereignty without personal sovereignty.
Right.
If every citizen's data is constantly leaking out of their phones to foreign servers, then the nation has already lost control anyway. So by building an app that strictly keeps data on the device, you are actually fulfilling a national security imperative from the bottom up.
That perfectly connects back to what the Tata chairman said. He called trust the scarcest resource.
And that is the key architectural shift. In the old model, you had to trust the company. You had to look at a giant tech firm and say, well, I trust them not to be evil with my location history.
Good luck with that.
Right. But in the MANAV model, you don't have to trust the company at all. You only have to trust the architecture. Since the data never actually leaves my phone, I don't need to worry about your corporate ethics. I retain the control.
That is a massive shift in power dynamics.
Yeah.
You are moving the power away from the centralized server and putting it back into the handset in your pocket.
Exactly.
Okay, we are through MAN. Let's hit the last two letters, the second A and the V. Accessible and valid.
Let's talk about accessible. This is a huge deal for the Global South and frankly for anyone who doesn't live right in the middle of a major tech hub.
Right.
The summit had this amazing anecdote about rural women learning to use AI tools in just a matter of hours. The core point was if the technology only works for guys in Silicon Valley with gigabit internet connections, then it completely fails the A requirement.
It has to reach the last person.
Exactly. Now think about normal safety apps again. Most of them heavily rely on GPS and continuous data connections. Send them my live location via WhatsApp.
Sure.
What happens if you are in a rural area? Or you're out hiking? Or there's a natural disaster and the cell towers are overloaded and down.
You're just out of luck. You get the spinning wheel of death while you're trying to call for help.
And that means you are systematically excluded from safety. MySafetyRing is designed to be SMS first.
Meaning it sends the emergency location via a standard text message.
Yes, which means it works on the absolute weakest possible cell signal. It works offline, essentially. You don't need a fancy data plan. You don't need 5G coverage. That is true accessibility. It's designing for the worst-case scenario, not the best-case scenario.
It's inclusive design in action. It's not just assuming everyone walking around has an iPhone 17 Pro with an unlimited data contract.
Exactly. And finally, we reach V, valid and legitimate. This essentially means the technology must be lawful and verifiable.
And this is where the sort of boring part of the app comes in, right? The log files. I saw a screenshot in the documentation of this feature simply called view logs. And it literally just looked like a plain list of text.
It is very boring to look at, but it is incredibly critical. You can open that screen up and see a line-by-line audit of everything the app has ever done. 2:01 p.m. missed call detected. 2:02 p.m. SMS sent to emergency contact.
Why does a feature like that matter so much, though? Who is actually sitting around reading their app logs?
It matters because of what Dario Amodei from Anthropic said at the summit. He heavily warned the audience about the autonomous behavior of AI models.
Right.
He talked about AI doing things we didn't explicitly ask it to do, hallucinations, or even worse, hidden background processes running without us knowing.
Like when you suspect an app is secretly recording your audio for targeted ads, but you have absolutely no way to prove it.
Right. By having a visible, easily accessible log, the app makes itself entirely verifiable. It actively proves its validity to the user. It's basically saying, I have nothing to hide from you. Here is the receipt for everything I've done. It removes the mystery and provides deterministic behavior rather than probabilistic guessing.
So when you stack all of this up, MAV isn't just a political speech PM Modi gave. It is actually a functional blueprint. You can build software that strictly follows these rules.
You really can. And MySafetyRing proves that you can build it cheaply and effectively. You do not need $1 billion in venture capital to build moral, accountable, sovereign software. You just need a developer who cares about those principles.
But I want to zoom out for a second here, because the summit wasn't just a big congratulatory victory lap. There was some very real fear palpable in that room. You had President Macron from France up there, and he wasn't just talking about trade economics. He was talking about civilization itself.
Macron's speech was fascinating. He went incredibly hard on the protection of children. He actually proposed banning social networks entirely for those under 15. He explicitly called it a civilization story, not just a tech story.
The civilization story. That is a heavy, heavy phrase to drop at a tech conference.
It is. But think about what he's saying. If we are actively raising a generation that is constantly surveilled, constantly algorithmically manipulated, and has zero concept of data privacy, what kind of civilization does that actually produce?
It produces a civilization of products, not people.
Exactly. And that connects directly back to the privacy and trust gap that the documentation talks about. Right now, parents feel like they are forced to spy on their own kids just to keep them safe. It's a terrible choice. You have to pick privacy or safety.
Yeah.
Macron is saying we need safe spaces online. And the MANAV framework is saying we can actually build those spaces, but we have to fundamentally change the architecture first.
Sundar Pichai was there too, represented sort of the other side of the coin, the massive corporate scale. And he called AI the biggest platform shift of our lifetimes.
He did. And to be fair to him, he said, we must pursue it boldly and approach it responsibly.
Responsibly. That is the operative word there.
It is, but I think the definition of responsible is completely up for grabs right now. For a massive multinational corporation, responsible might just mean we filter out bad words or we make sure the image generator isn't biased, and those are definitely good things.
Right.
But for the MANAV framework, responsible means the user inherently owns the data. Those are two very fundamentally different definitions of responsibility.
And that is exactly where the conflict lies. If you took the MANAV framework and applied it to Google Maps or Facebook or TikTok, do any of them pass the test?
Not even close. They fail spectacularly.
Let's run the test right now. Are those apps sovereign?
No. Your data is sitting on their servers being cross-referenced and sold to advertisers.
Are they accountable? Do we actually know how the algorithm works?
Absolutely not. It is a closely guarded trade secret. It's a total black box.
Are they Are they moral? Do they avoid surveillance by default?
Their entire multi-billion-dollar business model is surveillance by default. They are attention merchants. They literally need to watch you constantly to know what to sell you.
So MySafetyRing is a bit of a rebel then. It's this tiny little app, but it is standing in direct opposition to the entire underlying logic of the modern internet.
It is a profound proof of concept. It actively shows that you can provide incredible utility, like personal safety in this case, without systematically stripping the user of their basic rights. It exposes the lie that we have to trade our privacy for convenience.
That is the real aha moment for me in all of this. We have been told for 15 years, if you want the free map, we get to track you. If you want the free email, we get to read it. The MANAV essentially says no, that deal is completely void.
And that is why the summit matters so much. It is the global south, with India partnering with France, standing up and saying, we are going to build a different kind of internet. One that is actually human-centric, MANAV-centric.
It's empowering for sure, but it's also a little daunting because it puts the responsibility right back on us as users.
It does. If you really want sovereignty, you have to take it. You have to consciously choose the apps that respect you. You have to actually check your permissions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we started today with two very different scenes. The glittering summit with the world leaders and the lone guy coding in a cafe. They seemed worlds apart.
But they are actually fighting the exact same war. The leaders are writing the new rules of engagement, and the developers are out there building the weapons, or in this specific case, the shields. MySafetyRing is a shield.
It's a digital shield.
Exactly. And the lingering question for the listener is, are you actively using shields right now, or are you walking out into the digital world completely naked?
Wow, that is a terrifying image to leave people with.
Well, I'm sorry, but it is the truth. We are very vulnerable out there.
No. It is a fair question.
Yeah.
MySafetyRing is just one single app. It handles one specific problem, which is personal safety. But imagine if your banking app had to be this transparent. Imagine if your health app kept all of your sensitive data strictly on your device.
Imagine if your social media platform had a view logs button where you could click and see exactly why a specific controversial post was forced into your feed.
The internet would look completely different. It would probably be a lot less addictive and a whole lot more trusted.
And maybe, just maybe, that is the future the summit was trying to point us toward. A future where we aren't just users being used, but actual owners of our own digital lives.
Well, until that future finally arrives, we have to navigate the one we are currently in.
That we do.
So do us a favor. After you finish listening to this deep dive, take 30 seconds. Open up the settings on your phone, go to the privacy section, look at exactly which apps are tracking your location right now.
And ask yourself, is this moral? Is it accountable? Is it sovereign?
If the answer is no, maybe it's time to hit that delete button, or at the very least, change the permission to ask every time.
Take back a little bit of your own sovereignty today.
Exactly. That is all we have for this deep dive. We will be back next time with another stack of sources to unpack. Until then, stay curious.
And stay safe.
Bye for now.